call may already own collections management, and hopefully a lot of you have been utilizing the new features. As some of you know, collections management was a Microsoft product for several years. It was recently transitioned back to Professional Advantage after a great 12-year relationship with Microsoft. We have had a number of new releases since that transition back a year ago. So today we'll be focusing on the latest enhancements of collections management. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with collections management or possibly don't own a license, we'll touch on some of the core features, but again, today's session is really going to be focused on the newest features. If you are interested in a core features demonstration, please reach out to your account manager at Socius, Yvette and her team, and we'd be happy to set something up. So without further ado, let's get underway here. I just have a couple of PowerPoints to go through before we get into the demonstration. And to start things off, just to let everybody know a little bit about Professional Advantage. We are a Gold Certified Microsoft partner as well as an independent software vendor. We have been partners with Socius for several years. We do develop and support a number of cross-industry solutions built specifically for Microsoft Dynamics. Professional Advantage does have operations in Australia, North America, and in Europe. We're proud to have been a Microsoft President's Club member for the past 14 years, and we have made several contributions to the Microsoft Dynamics GP product line over our existence. So some of those features you may be using today inside Dynamics GP were once Professional Advantage add-on solutions. And listed there out at the bottom of your screen here is the other current Professional Advantage supported add-on products for Microsoft Dynamics. Those are just a few of those listed there. If you do have any questions on our other products, don't hesitate to reach out on those. One slide I have here before we jump into the demonstration, I do want to touch on some of the core collections features that we'll be seeing in our demo, as well as Company Data Archive Express. We're very excited to announce the CDA or Company Data Archive Express feature now available to everybody with a license to collections management. So starting with the latest enhancements to the core collections management module. First off, we do have some improved emailing capabilities. As you'll see in the demonstration today, collections management will make it easy to select a message template inside GP and then select groups of invoices or all of your customers' open invoices to attach and send with your emails. Automation. One of our biggest new features is the collections automation, which revolves around the new features we call collection plans. Now the collection plans, you can choose from a predefined list of plans. There'll be some collection plans out of the box for you to use. You can certainly define your own process from scratch, listing those plans out step by step. You'll want to eventually create different collection plans for your different customer types. And at a high level, what the plans provide are system-generated actions or reminders that happen to the customers they're assigned to. So we can have a step that sends out a reminder email to a customer that they have invoices that are soon coming due, or we can have collection letters going out to customers past due at 30, 60, 90 days perhaps, or phone calls being scheduled for yourself to remind you, hey, the customer is 100 days past due. We need to call the customer, find out why that hasn't been done. So a number of actions we can set up for these different steps in the plans. If we go through some examples, is demonstration. And then the last point here on the collection plans is when it comes to processing the steps, you can do those one at a time or group similar customers or similar steps together and process those in bulk. Smart lists. we do have a number of smart lists that do ship with our latest versions of collections management, including an option for your collection notes to use a smart list to filter the notes on keywords, your collector items, or without clicking through the individual records on your collections main window. Additionally, there are added collection notes information to your standard receivables transaction smart list. So if you have an RM document out there that has a collection note attached to it, you can easily see that along with its details. SSRS reports, the next point there, we have a number of new reporting capabilities with collections management. So if you're using SQL reporting services today, we have these SSRS templates built, and you can certainly utilize those, which will give you some cash and other customer metrics. And then last point here on the core features portion, setup-wise, we do have new quick start wizards for you to set up collection actions, letters, and plans out of the box. There'll be a number of sample data for you to use. Also, Word invoices, Microsoft Word invoices. One of the most popular requests we did receive since getting the product back was for collections management to have the ability to attach and send Microsoft Word documents, invoices, and receivable statements. That would hopefully save you on the costs associated with your expensive PDF writer licenses for each of your users. You can now use Word invoices and receivable statements. Also, this last portion here, outside integration. Now, in the past, you were unable to attach your invoices to your emails out of collections if you were invoicing outside of GP. We've now provided the capability for you to attach those invoices if you are using an invoicing module outside of GP, or perhaps a third-party invoicing module like Project Accounting or OneStaff Back Office. So if you're using those other systems rather than the GP invoicing module, you can point collections to a file share on your directory, and as long as those third-party invoicing systems are able to produce a PDF of that invoice and save it to that file, collections can pull from that file, and you're able to include attachments as PDFs in those collections, letters, and emails. Company Data Archive Express, the second portion of our webinar today. I do want to go through a number of features that Company Data Archive Express includes. Again, if you have a license to collections management, a current maintenance plan, you are able to use Company Data Archive Express. Now, archiving in general allows you to move historical data from your production company in GP into an archive company. That way you can speed up reports, inquiries, lookups, and overall performance. It allows you to streamline your database, whereas some of the inquiry windows are showing you usually your oldest transactions, which are usually your most irrelevant. So the archive tool gets rid of that historical data and allows your users to make faster decisions, and hopefully better ones at that. Now with the Express version of Company Data Archive, again, which is available to collections management users, this allows you to archive historical data from GL and payables management. You also have some database maintenance tools that are very useful in increasing performance in GP as well, and we'll go through a number of those. Those include a sizing window, index fragmentation checker, as well as some database diagnostics. So we'll take a look at those inside our demonstration today. Without further ado, let's get into collections management and the demonstration. I do have our demo today set up in GP 2013. Please note that all of the latest functionality, as well as Company Data Archive Express, is supported in GP 2010 as well as GP 2013. Now, before I get started, as Yvette said, if you have any questions, feel free to submit those via the questions portal on the GoToWebinar as you have those, and we will leave some time at the end. I do want to leave about 15 minutes at the end of today's session for some Q&A. So you can submit those questions as you go, or you can definitely raise your hand during our Q&A session at the end, and those will be addressed. Now, again, if you aren't familiar with collections, maybe you don't own a license today, this session is geared towards the latest features, but it's going to be very valuable to those even if you haven't seen collections in the past. Now, if you want to see the core features, such as your writing collection notes, running queries, things like that, don't hesitate to reach out to set up a demo for those as well. Now, the first window we're actually going to look at here in the demonstration is the Collections Management main window. Now, this, for those of you who do own licenses, is going to look very familiar to how the windows looked in the past. And those of you who aren't familiar with collections, the Collections Management main window is really the hub of the product. It's the command center. You can get a lot of great information around ad hoc and inquiry from this window. So you'll notice there are a number of fields, and I'm going to pull on a customer here, Aaron Fitz Electrical, just to populate some of these fields. You'll notice that we've added some fields and actually given you more space to view your notes here at the bottom of the window. You can see payment terms were added. This customer's on net 30. Posted cash and posted sales are the same as well. I mentioned the emailing capabilities for the newer versions of collections management. So we're going to go ahead and look at the newer emailing capabilities. So if I'm inquiring on a customer, and let's say we have Bob Fitz from Aaron Fitz Electrical on the phone. We're inquiring on some past due invoices. Now, if Bob Fitz requests a number of those invoices we're discussing to be emailed to him, that way he can get them over to accounting or where they need to go to be paid, we can easily write him a one-off email from our main window. So you notice there's an email button up here, which will populate a collections email window. And I'm going to, from this window, you're going to be able to choose who the email is going to. I know I'm talking to Bob Fitz. I'm going to add his email address. If we need to copy or blind copy anybody onto this email, we can certainly do that as well. Now, collections management gives you the ability to use these letter templates, so essentially email templates. And I'm going to go ahead and choose an email template to use. Now, the one I've chose here allows me to select specific documents to be emailed to the customer. So we have our open AR document list here at the bottom of this email window, and I can certainly go through and pick and choose which ones I need to send to Bob. But with the newest features, you can actually group invoices. So there's a number of different groupings, whether we want to attach all of the customer's invoices. Maybe we just want to attach the overdue invoices. So I'm going to select that, and you'll see the groupings are selected from my open AR document list here at the bottom. Now, I'll hit refresh, and two things are going to happen for me. It's going to list the document details in the body of our email here. I can certainly edit this message. I know it's going to Bob Fitz. I'm going to put his name in there. You can see the details, the document number, the date, and the amounts associated with that invoice are listed in our body. But it's also going to attach those invoices as PDFs. That way Bob can forward those on and get those paid. Now, if we have attachments outside of GP we want to include, there's an additional attachments button down at the bottom of your window here. So if we want to include a credit card authorization form or something else, we can certainly attach other things to this email. So with the emailing capabilities, I have what needs to be said to Bob. I have the documents that I need to send him as well. I'll go ahead and click send, and this shoots an email off to the customer. So that functionality, especially the grouping of the documents, is relatively new. Other than that, the core features from your main window here, creating new notes, attaching notes to your invoices, managing your task list of your collection tasks, things that need to get done during the day, all of that is relatively the same. Quickly here before we go on to the collection plans, there are a number of extras we've included in the newer versions. You still have your stats. You can get your collection stats. You can certainly suggest new features. One of the best benefits of getting the product back from Microsoft is that we now have the ability to take customer feedback for new product features, suggestions, fixes, things like that, and get those out to you much faster than they could with Microsoft. So, and actually this next release, I believe a third of the new features in our next release, which is due out here in the coming months, is a third of those features are customer driven. So we do want to get those product features that are suggested by our customers out as soon as possible. So go ahead and feel free to suggest a feature, stay connected through our blog, view our upcoming webinars, or inquire on our other products from Professional Advantage. On to the collection plans. Now I'm going to show you a setup window here to begin, and this really gives you an idea how the plans work and function inside collections management. Now I have a number of examples to show you. The first one I have here pulled up is a good customer plan. Maybe you have a more relaxed plan for your good customers. It's you know, the steps are spread out. They're not as harsh. So that's a good customer plan. Maybe you want a high-risk plan for your previous late-paying customers. Now, this gets assigned to somebody if they miss a payment. And the steps in this plan are more strict. They're not so spread out. We're gonna keep these customers on lockdown. And then the third example I have is just a standard plan. And maybe this plan is assigned to the rest of the customers that are high risk or considered a good customer. And or else this plan is assigned to all of your new customers that you're onboarding. So if we look at this plan and we look at the steps that are outlined, it's very straightforward. The plans are going to action based on the number of days a customer's invoice is past due. So it's always going to queue on the oldest outstanding invoice of the customer. As long as they're assigned to the plan, they'll get the step in the plan if needed to be actioned. So starting with the first step, you can actually see it's a negative amount. So 7 days before the customer's invoice is due, we have an action, and the action is called soon due. And we'll take a look at what this action is. The action happens to be a letter or a friendly reminder that's automatically sent to the customer. And if you're familiar with collections, all these letters are configurable. You choose what you want to say at which points in time. So you can have unlimited letters, unlimited actions inside the system, and you choose what happens during the plan. So just quickly here, this letter is to the customer. It's a note to let them know they have invoices that will soon be considered overdue. We list the outstanding invoices here in the body. You'll notice we can choose which invoices are attached to the email as well, and we're including all invoices not overdue. So this is what gets sent to the customer on that step of the plan. Next step, we have a reminder going to the customer. This happens 5 days past due. So 5 days, the customer still hasn't paid that invoice, we're sending them a reminder. 14 days past due, we still haven't seen payment. We're going to put in a phone call to the customer. Now this is a phone call task that's being scheduled and sent to your collections task list. So again, those of you who are using collections management today, you're familiar with the task list. It's just a number of to-do items, and these plans are now automatically suggesting when you need to call the customer. 30 and 45 days, we have a couple of letters being sent to the customer. Now those letters can be sent via email. Those go out automatically, or else they're printed off and you can send those to the customer through the mail or fax them, however you're contacting your customer. 50 and 60 days, we have a few more calls. We have another letter going out 75 days past due, and then the last step in the plan here, 90 days, is our final step. Now, your final step can be a number of things. Maybe it's an email, a final notice going to the customer. Hey, your account is now 90 days past due. We're going to put your services on hold, or we're sending you to a legal department. Now, the last step could be a reminder to you internally that, hey, the customer is now 90 days past due, put a hold on their account, or send them to a collection agency or a legal department. Now, when you reach the last step in the plan, you'll notice there's a configuration here. You can have the plan keep repeating that last step, so maybe the customer gets a notice every 30 days for the lifetime of that outstanding payment. Your account's on hold, your account's on hold, where's the payment? Something like that. Or you can have the system stop suggesting the next step. That way you can decide manually where you want to go with the customers. Other configurations include a minimum amount to be met. So if a customer is assigned to my regular plan, if the invoice comes past due, is not meeting the minimum, it's not going to take them through the steps in the plan. Now, that ensures that if you have a large customer, maybe you're doing millions of dollars of business with every year, but for some odd reason they had a $5 invoice outstanding, we're not going to take them through the steps in the plan unless it meets, if it doesn't meet that minimum. So you can configure a minimum amount to be met before the plan starts actioning its steps. Now, processing these steps or processing the actions of your plan. Now, if you think about the collection plans in general as a semi-automated process as opposed to a fully automated system happening in the background without any means for you to interject, it'll make much more sense. So this brings me to the next window, the Collections Management Plan Processing Queue. What you're looking at here is our queue to process the steps in the plan. So all of my customers that are on a plan that are ready to get their next step, they are showing here in my queue. So again, we don't want to process actions without you saying, okay, these customers are okay to get the next step, go ahead and process. That way, if you spoke to a customer yesterday and you're going through your queue, you notice, oh, I spoke with American Electrical yesterday. I select the customer. It shows me the documents that are past due here in the middle third. I can modify the step or the action in their plan before it goes out. So going off that, there's two ways to process the actions. We can process customers one at a time. So again, let's say I spoke with this American Electrical contractor yesterday. I spoke with Sue. Let me modify the email saying, hey, Sue, I know we spoke on the phone yesterday, but I did want to send you your collection letter and the documents that are past due. So I can modify that quickly, process this customer one at a time. Now, the more you become comfortable with your plans, the more you can start coming in here and processing all your customers at one time. So with one click of the button, you process all the customers in the queue. Now, before I show you how that works, there's a number of different ways we can sort the queue. You notice we can sort our customers. We can look at all of them with a balance. So this includes customers that are not quite past due and the customers that are past due on their payments. I could just look at the overdue customers. I can sort by a collector ID. So if you have multiple people inside GP that are doing collections, you can just pick your user ID and work on the customers you're in charge of. I can build a query and sort my queue this way. Or I can just look at customers that have reached the end of their plan and determine, where do we want to go with these customers that, are more than 90 days delinquent. Where do we want to take these customers? I can search my queue by customer name, I can sort by the specific plan that they're assigned to. I can also sort this queue by the last action that they received or the next action that the customer is scheduled to get. So a quick example here. Let's take a look at everybody's scheduled to get their second letter. I know the second letter, this going out is a pretty safe action. I don't need to evaluate any of my customers individually. I select that second letter, and I go ahead and process all of those customers. Now again, let's go back to looking at all the customers ready to get their next step. Again, the more comfortable you become with your plans and how they work and how you have them set up with your organization, I can come in here in the morning, open my queue, go ahead and hit process all customers. And before it executes these actions, it's going to tell you what's going to happen. So customers on my good customer plan, the system will generate and send 4 final letters. Looks like one of the first letter, one of the third letter, and 1 call task will be scheduled. When you're sending your letters, you can have the system email only. Only those customers in GP with email addresses will process. Or you can have it email those for email and print the rest that aren't set up for email in GP. That way you can get a good list of the customers that aren't set up for email. You can cancel this, go back and plug in their emails. That way all of those can process via email. Or if you're still sending customers invoices through the mail, have it print and then send those through the mail or fax those to the customer. Again, however you're contacting them. Now when you're assigning actions like the phone calls, you can assign those to the customer's credit manager, or you can select one GP user or one collector inside the system for all of those to get assigned to. So you have those options selected, you hit OK. All of your email steps are processed automatically. The phone call tasks are assigned. Your queue is then cleared out. You can go back to your task list and work on making your phone calls or the steps that can't be automated. So again, with the plans in general, whereas you had to generate emails manually in the past, go out and find the specific invoices that were attached to those customers, and then process those emails individually for each customer. If they're assigned to a plan, we can process all those at one time. The system will determine which invoices need to be attached, which verbiage you're using in your emails, and bulk process those with the plan processing. So again, the system can't automate, unfortunately, the phone calls, which would be great, but the phone call tasks can be scheduled and assigned. You can focus on those and less on writing emails and making sure you've contacted customers who are past due with your plans. Now the next feature I do want to briefly show you here before we get into CDA Express, I want to show you a couple of smart lists and then where you can go to set up the sample data, the sample plans, actions, and letters, so you can start using those right away. You don't have to go in and configure those. So first of all, the smart lists, we do have our collection note smart list. So those of you who love using smart list features inside GP, we do have a collection note smart list. And again, if you're familiar with using smart lists, you know how you can add and remove columns. You can sort to see which specific data that you want to view here. So let's take a look at all of my collection notes in the system. I just want to look at those customers who have made a promise to pay, PTP, promise to pay. And I scroll over. I can view the note string easily here by widening this column, or I can export the data to Excel, which I do have an example, and manipulate the data in Excel. So I've exported my collection notes via the smart list, and now I just want to look at my disputed and promise to pay notes. I can see my note string, get a good idea of why this customer hasn't paid their invoice. Another very valuable smart list is the RM documents with collection notes attached to them. So this will populate my receivable transaction smart list. You'll notice if they do have a note attached, we can see the collections action that the customer promised. These customers are promising to pay these documents, and we can display the note string here as well. So if you're looking for RM documents out there where customers promise to pay those receivables documents, or have made a note that they're disputing, or there's a special circumstance going on with that, you can easily see it with those smart lists. Going into my sales module, let's take a look at, first of all, setting up the Word document template. So under our cards menu here, looking at the collection letters. Now, we took a look at previously a system developed collection letter, and that was written with the standard collection letter maintenance window. So if you're familiar with that, you know that it can be somewhat format limiting. Now, we've added the ability for you to use Word document templates. So if I'm developing a collection letter, and I'm, let's say it's just a reminder letter, and I want to use a Word document template, which can use all the great formatting features of Microsoft Word, instead of the standard GP letter writing functionality, I can choose to do that and then just point this to a file where the system can pull that letter template every time. Now, I do want to share an example with everybody. This is a sample Word letter template, final notice. You can see here we can use all the mail merge fields, so if you want to put in customer data and make it personable for the customer, you can certainly do that. And you know, this might be a great Word template for you to use. It has a little mafia guy here. May accentuate the importance of the customer paying their invoices. So just a quick example of what the Word document templates can look like. Now, as I also mentioned, there's quick start wizards and a number of sample data that you can use out of the box. You can see here collection sample data. This gives you the ability to create actions, letters, and plans automatically. So we have developed a number of actions, letters, and plans that come out of the box. If you want to create those that sample data and use that, you can certainly do that and select which ones you want to use, process those, and they'll be ready to go, ready for you to use with your customers. Now that can be found under, we're in sales here, under the setup. You'll have an option called collection sample data. That comes with all of the latest releases. And finally, Company Data Archive Express, the big new feature that we've recently released for all of our collections management customers. So in our ongoing attempt to provide as much value to our collections management customers as possible, we've released Company Data Archive Express and a number of database maintenance tools with your maintenance plans. First of all, Company Data Archive Express. Now, as I said before, archiving your data is going to not only increase performance in GP, you'll be able to streamline your database, it's going to decrease the amount of time it takes to upgrade your system, and also save you disk space. So a number of benefits of archiving. And simply what the tool does is allow you to remove historical irrelevant data from your production company and store that in an archive company. So the data is not being deleted or purged, it's just being moved out of production. That way your processes, those reports, those inquiry windows, your aging routines, all the processes that happen inside your production company are not running through that old historical data anymore. It's being moved out of production into an archive. That way it's still there for you to inquire on, but those processes in your live company are not running on that old data anymore. Now we have customers that have years and years of data that have used our archive tool, moved the, let's say they keep 2 or 3 years of production data, and then they move the rest into the archive. And we've seen customers that have cut report generation time in half or more. And so just things like that to keep in mind. If you have years and years of data inside GP, or you're processing large amounts of transactions on a daily basis, this tool will become very useful. And you can see from our archive screen here, it's very straightforward. You'll note your destination company. This is your archive company. You'll select your production company here. You'll enter in a date. So the archive date is the year, the specific day, and everything before that date that you choose is then able to be archived or moved out of production into the archive company. So if we choose something like December 31st of 2011, everything before that date is then able to be archived. Now with the Express version, as I mentioned, you're able to archive general ledger data and payables management data. So you do have those two modules with your collections license. And the good news is at any time you're able to upgrade to the professional version, which gives you all of the core modules inside GP. So if you have lots of sales, inventory, payroll data, upgrading to the professional version of Company Data Archive would allow you to archive historical data in those modules as well. So this product, Company Data Archive, is sold separately. The Express version is only available to collections management customers. But if you are interested in the full version of Company Data Archive, reach out to your account manager at Socius, and all of them are very well versed in the archive tool, and we'd be happy to set up a demonstration of that. Now, as I mentioned, there's a couple of database maintenance features I do want to go through with the Archive Express tool. First of all, the database distribution and sizes window. This really helps you determine how big of a database you have and where it might make sense to archive from. So I'll go ahead and calculate. Now the data, as you'll see in my demo database, it's not going to show me, is taking up any disk space. But this window and this feature allows you to see how big your database really is and how the archive tool could really help you. So you'll see by year and by module how much disk space is being taken up with that historical data. So it really helps you understand where it might make sense to use an archive date and archive data. The feature will go even further to show you data in the number of rows in each of those modules and the disk space that's taking up. So if we're looking at the Express version, we can archive all of this general ledger data and my payables management, a number of tables here in payables that are able to be archived. So this really gives you an idea of how big of a database you're currently running, and you can export this data to Excel, and it's going to give you a nice, some nice graphs and slice your data so you can see by module how large my database is. You can see, like most databases, the data is growing exponentially by year. So if we enter a cutoff date of 2011, we can save roughly this much disk space. Now, along with your database distribution and sizes window, we also have, as I said before, an index Fragmentation report. This is more of an IT utility, and if you run the report, it's going to show you information on fragmented indexes inside SQL. So whether they need to be rebuilt or reorganized, or maybe the index is just fine. There will be an email you can generate, which is going to contain the Microsoft recommended SQL script to run to optimize all of these indexes. So your database administrator can copy-paste that script right into SQL Management Studio and optimize all of these indexes. And then the last database maintenance feature I do want to show is we've built a number of SQL and Dynamics GP diagnostics for you to run. So you see that the number of diagnostics. We'll go ahead and run these. Now what it's going to tell you based on Microsoft recommendations, whether your database meets the recommendation, does not meet the recommendation, or it needs to be determined. And if you click on the diagnostic, it's gonna give you a description of what was run, and then your database results. So you can certainly determine, based on these diagnostics, whether you're meeting Microsoft recommendations or not. So again, this is a recent feature, and our goal is to make the archive tool an overall database maintenance solution. So you do get these great features with your collections management license. With that said, I do want to switch back to my PowerPoint here. One more slide here before we get into our QA. If you're not using collections management today, this tool specifically can really show you your return on investment with specific statistics that the tool calculates. So if you're wondering, is this tool really going to help us in the long run, measuring ROI with collections management is actually very easy. Now, a statistic that's going to help you measure this ROI is called Days Sales Outstanding, or DSO. And a lot of companies like to keep track of DSO. And what DSO, what DSO is in general, what it is it's not only a good indicator that can show you if your collection process is working efficiently. It indicates how much you're selling and how fast you're getting paid. So, you're issuing your invoices, how fast your customer is paying those invoices. Now, if you're invoicing on net 30 terms, a reasonably good DSO is usually 40 days or under. So, collections management will actually keep a log of DSO for you, so you can see over time if this statistic is improving and you're decreasing your DSO. And you can see how that stat is calculated: accounts receivable divided by the number of invoices in a specific period, times that by the number of days in that period. Now, my example here at the bottom, hopefully this will paint a clear picture. If you're not using collections today, and let's say you're a $52 million company, you're roughly collecting $1 million a week from your customers. Now, you implement collections, which acts as that catalyst, and throughout that entire first year, let's just say it decreases your DSO just by 1 week. Now, again, that gives you 1 more week to collect your money. And if you remember, we're collecting $1 million a week. The result, by using collections and decreasing your DSO in that first year, that allows you to collect $1 million more dollars. You're now a $53 million company. With that said, I do want to thank everybody who's in attendance today. My contact details are listed there. Again, feel free to reach out to your account managers at Socius, Yvette and her team. And if you do have any further questions on any of the new features you want to see or revisit the core features of collections management, we're always happy to demonstrate those as well. And another note, if you do have any interest in taking a look at the professional version of Company Data Archive or any questions on that, don't hesitate to reach as well. So again, Thanks to Yvette and her team, everybody at Celsius for organizing the webinar. Let's open it up to some Q&A here.